Dhillon, Dr. Nanda, Dr. Amrit, Sri Amrit Singh Ji Gill, Dr. Barar, Dr. Parihar, Dr. J.S. Nanda, distinguished faculty members, young students, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, it's a great privilege to be here to participate in this award function being organized by Dr. Gurdev as Khush Foundation. I could not refuse the invitation when Dr. Dhillon and Dr. Darshan Barar asked me to be here, because anytime to be associated with a person like Dr. Gurdev Khush is a great privilege, and this privilege I didn't want to miss. You have heard a lot about him. Any detailed account would be small as far as his achievements are concerned, and I had my personal association with him and Harvanji, and I can tell you he is your best well-wisher. He is a man of head and heart, and he is magnanimous in whatever he does, and not for self but for others. This establishment of foundation by giving all award money which he received as a World Food Laureate, it is itself a unique example which you don't come across. And I would like, therefore, from my own behalf, convey my sincere appreciation for Dr. Khush, what you have done, especially to encourage young people who are going to accept the challenges. I am also very privileged that I have here Dr. Singh Gill, from whom I learnt a lot and with whom I worked for many years, and Dr. John, who had helped me a great deal in the Council for Reforms relating to incentives and rewards and organization and management. Having said that, I would like to also thank Dr. Dhillon for very generous introduction, and I don't know, after this generous introduction, I feel humbled to really make this presentation. But the topic was given again to me by Dr. Darshan Barar, and I wanted some other subject to discuss and debate, but he said he would like you to cover in general the challenges before agriculture in India and what could be the way forward. So I have preferred to talk to you today in the context of what we have achieved and what challenges are before us and what is required to be done. You all are aware, it's I think golden jubilee year of Green Revolution. The seeds of Green Revolution were sown in this part of India in 64-65 when I was PhD student at ICAR, and that's when Dr. Swaminathan, Dr. Gill and many eminent wheat scientists we came in touch with. So this Green Revolution has at least helped us one thing, that we have left famines behind. Nobody talks about famines today, which used to be a general occurrence. Even my mother used to tell me that you were born in the year of famine of Bengal, which was devastating for the humanity and to our people. Green Revolution, I am also trying to talk about this not for the old people who are here, but I see that generations are passing. Dr. Swaminathan's generation, Dr. Gill's generation, after him my generation. After me, Dillon's generation, and after Dillon, young generation here. So it's almost 4 generations we are seeing in this process. And many people may not be knowing, the young generation, what has happened. We have achieved a great deal while increasing our population by 4-fold. We have increased our food production by more than 5-fold. We also enabled consumers to afford this food at a cheaper price. We could reduce poverty, though poverty is still a concern. I will talk about it later. From 60% at that time, we have come down to 25%, but 25% is also a challenge. And life expectancy, which used to be 32, got doubled. These are not small achievements by any way, and if you recollect, this was a science-led revolution. It is the change of plant architecture, bringing in dwarfism and photoinsensitivity to respond to higher nutrients and inputs led to increase in productivity, whether it was wheat or whether it was rice, and much has been talked about wheat and rice. Both these led to this kind of development, especially in our country, where we were considered begging bowl, and many of young generation may not be aware that we were importing food, and this food was not available, and we didn't have money to buy it. So we had to buy it under PL 480, and we were repaying it till almost a decade ago. So almost for 40 years, we paid that money back. And why this all happened as a green revolution, which is still not happening in Africa, because there were 3 important cradles. One is the strong National Agriculture Research System, like these institutions which have come up now, ICAR, various institutions, the international research centers with whom we collaborated, and luckily we had Gurdev, Khush in Erie, and Dr. Borlaug in Summit, and then Rajaram in Summit, Mexico. And then we had very progressive farmers of Punjab, Haryana, Western UP. And there was international public good. So whatever was done in international centers was available for giving it to the smallholder farmers, and that's how we could achieve it. And there was also political commitment. This could all have not happened had there not been a political commitment, right from Mahatma Gandhi, when he said that you do go in for using the resources but don't overuse them. Also in that process, Pandit Nehru said everything else can wait but not agriculture. And Indira Gandhi, after having gone to US, and when she was refused the food subsidy to India, she came back, and that is the time when we were students, that no nation can live with pride unless it has capacity to feed its people. So today, from that level of begging bowl status to an era of self-sufficiency is not a small feat which has to be recognized. It has put our head high before the rest of the world that we can meet these challenges, and we have that capability. And luckily there were people like Dr. Norman Borlaug, Dr. Swaminathan, different countries, Yuan Longping, the father of hybrid rice in China, Wotong Duan in Vietnam, and Dr. Gurdev Khush sitting in the lab of Erie and working on the fields there, gave so much to the rest of the world. Much has been said about it earlier, and people say gene pyramiding, genetic engineering, multiple disease and pest resistance, and all these were attended by him and by his group. And today, world has progressed. And today, if people like Warlock and Khush would have not been there, imagine where we would have been. Having said all this, there are challenges, and these challenges have to be understood. And the challenges are the second generation problems of Green Revolution. Even now, Dr. Swaminathan in one of his talks had mentioned that Green Revolution was an exploitative technology. In other words, we have funneled too many of nutrients. We have also taken out a lot of water from our strata, and then we have been making our soil less healthier, and we have concern of sector productivity decline. The other important point, which I would like to emphasize here is that having achieved the food self-sufficiency, and today with about 50 million tons of buffer, there was time when we were importing 10, and the food security was known as ship to mouth, that which ship will land on which port and distribute food in which part of the country. That was the status. To the era of self-sufficiency is not a small feat. So physical access we have achieved, but economic access is still a challenge. People are not able to buy this. That's why country has to think of national food security bill, so that almost 67%, though it is being debated, government is possibly considering to revise this figure, but at least there is a realization that we need to see that people who cannot afford get it at affordable price. Another challenge which often we don't recognize is of population explosion. And population explosion, we are adding one Australia every year to India, 15 to 16 million people. Though growth rate is declining, it used to be about 2.8% when we became independent, when we were 33 crores. Now we are 1.2 billion, 4 times. The growth rate has come down to 1.5%, but we have to bring it down to almost 1. And that will take time, and by then we will be the most populous country in the world, overtaking China. So whatever we are achieving, whatever we are doing gets nullified just because we add more people to our populations. And globally also is a problem. In 4 million years we were 2.5 billion. In 35 years from 1950 to 85 we added another 2.5 billion. And currently we are about 6.2 billion, and we are expected to be 8 billion by 2020. This is a big load. And when you look at the poverty, we were poor earlier also. We are still having poverty, 800 million. It used to be 1 billion about 5 years ago. And India still has 300 million out of 120 million. And rather 1.2 billion people, which means about almost 25%. We also are aware, and this is globally as well as for India, that we will need about 70% more production by 2050, and in future demand would be more for not food grains but for oilseeds, fruits, vegetables, milk, meat, fish, etc. We used to use per person about 4 kilograms of oil per annum. Now it is 16 kilograms. And we are importing oil of about 60,000 crores annually. You can imagine. And this is a big challenge in itself. We have to therefore think of diversifying our agriculture and also ensure that there is more of milk, meat and fish products. The food production analysis has been done and we now know that by uh, 2030, which means next 15 years, we will be needing another 75 million tons of food, which means every year we must add 5 million tons. And we have been doing it. We have been doing since almost last more than a decade. But we do see that there are challenges. Challenges you might have seen in yesterday's Times of India that deficit monsoon shrinks food grain production by 3%. We wanted to increase it by 2% every year. It has reduced by 5%. So deficit is of almost 8.5 million tons. Imagine if we don't make our agriculture resilient. This is a challenge before the young generation that we cannot be dependent on monsoon. And to do this, you have to think of different ways of making agriculture more efficient, resilient, and more usable in terms of natural resources and conserving those natural resources. We know the other challenges before us of climate. Climate change is a reality. Greenhouse gas emissions from agriculture, particularly agriculture production system, that is mainly rice, and livestock, bovine livestock production and their management leads to about 13.5%. But if you also add the land degradation and deforestation, then it comes to about 30% globally. This India has therefore to address, and we have to see how we can reduce the greenhouse gas emissions from our agricultural system. How can we ensure by doing this to see that global warming doesn't happen, which is anticipated to be around 1 to 4 degrees Celsius in the current, millennium. And in that context, we also are aware that that we have to eradicate poverty, which was Millennium Development Goal. World leaders have been meeting. They met in Rio de Janeiro in 1992. After that, they met in Johannesburg Sustainable Summit 2002, and recently they met again in Rio to make it Rio plus 20 and realized that what they decided to reduce poverty by 2050 and reduce it by half is not feasible. They also have realized that we have to do more to have environmental sustainability, and this cannot be done unless there is global partnership. So they have come out with new sustainable development goals. So now it is not Millennium Development Goals, it is now Sustainable Development Goals, which UN body is going to adopt by end of this year. We are aware that many countries are making good progress, especially China. From 80% when we were around 60%, they have come down to around 10%. And we were 60%, we are still around 25%. We have another problem before us, that there is a great concern of hunger. And hunger means, again, you have to address it as quickly as possible by providing good nutritious food to those who cannot otherwise afford. And you see that we are in a zone which is alarming. We are also aware of the fact that micronutrient deficiency is another big problem. So the question is, it is not food alone now, it is food and nutrition. And now the Sustainable Development Goals are adding another dimension, and also CGIAR is adding this new dimension, that it is not food, it is not nutrition, it is also health. So the entire spectrum and paradigm shift is from food to nutrition to health. Today you want healthy food, you don't want just food, and that changes the entire spectrum. And we know for that matter that out of every 5 children, 3 children are micronutrient deficient in India. And this is earlier I showed you global hunger index, we are 55th out of 76 countries. Can we really feel proud with this scenario? Despite all achievements of green, white and yellow revolutions that we had in the past, and in that process, what is required is that we have to also prepare ourselves towards the new Sustainable Development Goals, which call for end poverty in all its forms, end hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition, and promote sustainable agriculture. It's not a small challenge. Sustainable agriculture and increase production and productivity. Achieve gender equality, and realization which has come now is, and we also had organized the global conference on women in agriculture about 2 years ago in India. It came out very clearly, and there are studies by FAO and World Bank, that if you empower women, you can increase agriculture production by 30%. And if you engender agriculture, you really can ensure more household nutrition security. So, role of women, and I am very glad, I congratulate Dr. Dillon and PAU for great emphasis, and there is already gender balance here, I see in the audience. It's a good sight. When we were teaching, even not a student, teaching, there were hardly any 1 or 2 girl students in our classes in the college. So scenario is changing, and that's why also it is known, I would like to come back to that population issue. There cannot be any coercion, but yes, wherever there had been more education of women, the population already has declined. And this has happened from Kerala to begin with, and this has happened in Northeast, this has also happened in Himachal Pradesh, and this is happening in Punjab. Punjab also now, you have poverty less than, I would say 5% or 7%. Haryana has around 10%. So we are moving forward, and therefore we have to recognize this. And when I talk to women farmers, they say, you give us knowledge and you give us certain power that we produce and we sell ourselves. And don't let my husband go to mandi and sell it. And that kind of empowerment is required. And and I said, why? She said, if I would go and get money back from mandi, I'll spend on my children and on my family more in terms of percentage or proportion than what is being done by Chaudhry Sahab. Urgent action to combat climate change. Climate change is also to be urgently, and in that we need another strategy. I will talk about it. And goal of reversing the land degradation, halting biodiversity loss, and also have sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems. So we are talking about Rio Plus 20. One thing which has happened, which is good globally, that after Green Revolution for almost 20-25 years, people had forgotten agriculture as far as overseas development investment was concerned. And South Asia was particularly at the receiving end on it. So agriculture has returned to the center of global attention. This is what people have all recognized. If you spend in agriculture, you would be addressing the concern of proper growth and what they call is inclusive development. Attention to double burden of undernutrition and obesity is getting added. So it's not only problem of the malnutrition, it is the problem of obesity, which is again a health problem, and therefore which food you have to provide to see that you don't have this kind of created problem for children. Shift from conservation alone to management of landscape. So now people are talking of landscape management, not only of this. And then we are very happy to know that people say that agriculture increasingly positioned within environmental agenda, which means we are not problem for environment, we are part of solution for environment, provided we bring in better technologies and innovations to sustain our natural resources. In that respect, what is then the way forward? The way forward certainly is there that from strategic research, we have to also have balance for translational research. No doubt, while institutions like this have to do basic research, strategic research, and come out with new breakthroughs, we also have to address the concerns of those who are dependent on us in terms of providing them end products. And now, therefore, globally, people are talking of outputs and outcomes. So it's not only output, but outcomes. But outcomes means impact. It's not only output, but impact. So whether there is impact on those for whom you are working is a challenge which has to be addressed, and therefore translational research becomes a part of our new agricultural agenda. Opportunities are that we have to now shift from only research and publication of papers to that of innovation. Dr. Khush published more than 300 papers in journals, refereed journals, and that was his scientific achievement. But his impact, his name would have not been to this level if the results were not with the farmers. So you need innovation. If there were no these varieties with that great potential of higher productivity, so we need the large scale adoption for impact through innovation. And those countries who are investing today more on innovation, their national GDP is growing faster. Those countries who have not spent, and I will give you some figures later on this. So food security successes in Asia were driven by innovation. We know it. We know it happened in wheat and rice. I talked earlier, it also happened through hybrid rice. In China, it happened through hybrid millet. Dr. Atwal, we must remember him today. Great contribution. And his hybrids were the world famous hybrids. And we were the first, India was first to come out with hybrid technology of cotton, hybrid technology of pearl millet, hybrid technology of castor, and also of pigeon pea. So, we have made great strides. The sorghum, Dr. N.G.P. Rao, and his sorghum varieties today also and hybrids stand tall despite best efforts by international centers. Philippines, the tilapia fish production has made great contribution, and so there had been innovation. So we have to look for innovation. If we don't have, we should move towards innovation, and if there are available, we should translate those to our conditions. Millions Fed, 20 success stories by Pri and Apari we had brought out together, out of which 10 are from Asia alone. And in that context, when you give emphasis on innovation, you have to think globally and act locally. which means we should be worldly wise, but we must also see that it is relevant to our condition and don't blindly accept and replicate. So you need its adoption after testing and refinement. And that is what is important. There had been global debates. I was associated with Global Forum on Agriculture Research and also with the ICAR process. Two global conferences have taken place, one in France, Montpellier, and the other one in Uruguay. And there are very clear messages now. And messages are, and this is based on international debate, e-consultations relating to involving all stakeholders relating to what do we want and where should we go as far as agriculture research for development agenda is concerned. The message first is that we must reorient our agenda to address to the needs of smallholder farmers. The second one is that our research agenda should not be crop and commodity based, but should now be farming systems mode based. You cannot give that livelihood and sustainability to a smallholder farmer if you only talk of either rice or wheat. Third is, globally we must invest and invest not only double but triple our investment and link farmers to market to avoid their distress sale. And role of women and youth I have already talked, and youth is not attracted to agriculture now. How you make agriculture attracted to youth is another challenge where you will have to bring out innovations related to secondary and specialty agriculture. Without that, it will not be possible to attract them. And like conservation agriculture itself is an innovation. And NRM, I will also mention about it. An enhanced partnership is needed where you involve farmer, NGOs and private sector. I have talked about all these, but the holistic approach has to be food supply chain towards value addition so that whatever we produce is not lost and utilized properly. And that's where you need now reoriented research for not only agriculture but agri-food research. Even colleges have been renamed in the US. Agriculture college is no more generally, it is College of Agri-Food. So we have to think in the context of primary development and coming out with those technologies by which you can have processing in rural areas at low cost processing technologies. And cross-cutting have to be given greater emphasis, which are becoming a casualty over the recent past. That is the knowledge. Farmer you talk today, he says, I don't need subsidy, you give me the best knowledge. And best knowledge is not reaching him. There is a lot of dissemination loss in between. You just try to analyze what is the system that we have. It used to be perhaps a stronger system during Green Revolution time. We need to do more on socio-economic and policy research. That's how this was an area which remained weak, and we have to build the capacity to meet these challenges, new capacity of new generation, and we have to build our partnership. So improvement, management is okay, but now in center sits the socio-economic and policy. If there are no proper policies, you cannot move forward. And for proper policy, you need convincing knowledge. And convincing knowledge comes from more of research by capable people like Dr. George. So, we need innovation to scale up and we need innovation to scale out. And there has to be balance, and we need also necessary the scaling out for needed impact. Fortunately, there are advances in agri-food science in the recent past, which we possibly didn't have in the past. And you will see that by 2020 the genomes of all major crops would be possibly sequenced. This is a great achievement in itself, especially of all those crops in which international centers are working and which are more related to food security. Novel crops are being identified, and that's why people are talking crops for the future. Kunova was the year of UN 2 years back, grain and buckwheat, and you can go on talking about their potential, minor millets. We also have to go towards satellite imagery and remote sensing technologies are improving. Soil and water monitoring has increased, which was not to that level before. And we can think of bringing in precision farming to reduce energy and environmental footprint of agriculture. And there are potentials. You need now small tools and small farm machinery to have timely operation and bring in more resilience in agriculture. We have gene synthesis and multi-gene vector cloning for breakthroughs in photosynthesis. People are talking of man on the moon project, like one which Dr. Gurdev Khush started at ICAR of interspecific hybridization to make the stem quite stout in rice, so that it can extend and produce more through more grains per panicle. C4 in rice. Make rice C4. They may be man on the moon project, but these are needed. And at institute level, we must have these, what we call is flagship programs, interdisciplinary, interinstitutional, so that you have something to achieve which possibly is difficult to achieve. And in science, nothing is difficult. And in that respect, nitrogen fiction, also in the cereals. Nanotechnology is now becoming a reality for disease management, health diagnostics, food storage and safety. And agricultural informatics has opened up. Now while sitting in your own desk, in your own room, in the hostel, you can scan the entire literature, for which we had to struggle, go in library and work till midnight. These are new options of interspecific hybridization, what you call synthetics, whether it is wheat, whether it is rice. You have also the option of gene pyramiding, high yield combined with drought tolerance, combined with salt tolerance and whatnot. You also have the engineering for C4, for which work is now going on at ICAR, and to increase yield by, so at least you have targeting, improve water use efficiency, and also you improve nitrogen use efficiency. There had been innovations in the past. In case of maize, till 1990 we were told by the world, including CIMET, that for India, technology like double cross hybrid is the best one. And you see double cross hybrid limitation, hardly 3 tons. Whereas they were harvesting 7 tons through single cross maize hybrid technology, just alone. But India didn't have single acre. So we said what to do. So we started our own research program in ICAR and came out with our own single cross hybrids. We came out with Plant Variety Protection Act, and we now see that in 1 decade we have doubled our maize production. Just by one single innovation which was not available. China was following this. China, I don't know how China got these single cross hybrids, because nobody could go and tell them that you are infringing the property law. So they did it, whatever they had, irrespective of protection elsewhere, and they also had 6 to 7 tons, and now US has 8 tons. But out of this 8 tons, US is having another innovation of about 30% of it converting into biofuel. So most of it is going in that side. And India has potential of doubling it. We did this study about 5 years ago at national level and had a dialogue on it that you can double it provided you can increase area under single cross hybrids, including QPM. And QPM is another option which is for nutrition security, open now. Hybrid rice in China, till we went there, in China, we didn't know China had 50% of area under hybrid rice. And I was that time Deputy Director General Crop Sciences, and we were amazed. And from each hectare, through this technology, they were harvesting 1 ton extra rice. So out of 33 million hectare, they were having about 15 to 18 million hectare. But it needed research, it needed perseverance, it needed committed people like, here, Yuan Longping, Dr. Singh, Dr. Gurdev, Khush. These are the people. Dr. Vassal, who did so good work on, again, who hails from this part of the country, and they worked all through their life and gave the products. And the products which now making the difference. And we started also immediately the research on hybrid rice. India started, then Philippines also started, then Vietnam. These 3 countries have hybrid rice now. But area under hybrid rice in India out of 42 million hectare is still 2 million hectare. Why can't we increase? Where is the problem? No doubt, one can say the China has temperate climate and our climate is different, but then it requires more effort by our scientists. So the technology is there, the feasibility is there, but aggressiveness and mission is lacking. Biotechnology. I like to just also say a few words about biotechnology. Globally, everyone is making good use of this technology, and already about 180 million hectare area is covered under different crops, soybean, maize, cotton, canola, and it provides you resistance to insects, herbicides, viruses. We have great problem for weeds in the Kharif season. For Kharif crop, if you can control weed, you can manage your crop and make it resilient. But that's our biggest challenge still. And we also in that respect see that there are more than 50 crops which are being worked upon globally. India has done well in the context of creating a department. ICAR has been creating various institutions, and universities have been supported for research in biotechnology. So a large national agriculture research system has been built. Yet we now find for the first time in our, at least in my lifetime, that there is lack of policy support, unclarity, and this is an issue which would require to be understood. Dr. Borlaug used to say that those who are against biotechnology don't know the plight of poor people and farmers who need this technology to reduce their cost on inputs, especially the costly inputs like pesticides and weedicides. We need to strengthen biosafety regulation system, and I can only tell you, having gone through a lot of this effort, and these 2 reports have been brought out by APARI with our very serious efforts at a regional level, Asia Pacific level, that Indian biosafety regulatory system is quite strong. It's an issue of implementation which is different. It's not an issue of a system whether it is there or not. one can argue in the context of implementation part. And we are happy, and I was associated with it, that BT cotton was released in 2001, 2002, it came into commercialization. If it was not released, possibly we had today hardly any case for GM technology in India. And what has happened? We went through testing, we went through encouraging this technology, because 50% of pesticides in agriculture were being used in cotton alone, and maximum deaths were occurring by suicides by farmers. So in India, the area under BT cotton is today 11 million hectare. You can imagine 95% of the total. The cotton production has doubled, which is amazing. We have reduced our pesticide consumption by 40%, because it is only control against one pest, and cotton has many pests. Income of 7 million cotton farmers has increased significantly. You go and talk. I have been talking to hundreds of cotton farmers. No farmer has ever come and told me that he has not been benefited from this. Export of cotton, we were never exporting before. Now we are exporting almost up to $3 billion per year. And we were fourth. We were behind even Pakistan, having so much large area in India. Though our area is more under rain-fed, now we have become number 2. And I have no doubt, if we continue with this effort, we would be certainly number 1. Benefits of BT cotton in Philippines, that's the only country in the Southeast Asia which has released the GM food crop. Fortunately, cotton is not a food crop, so that's an issue which possibly has been accepted. And there it has reduced the insecticide use by 60%, and income per hectare has increased by more than $200. BT brinjal, very interesting story. You all possibly will be aware. I'll briefly touch it. That BT brinjal is, brinjal is a vegetable which is quite popular in Africa, East Africa, and also in Asia and Southeast Asia. BT brinjal release was withheld. It was almost ready. It was in the public domain. The rights were given by private sector to the public institutions. These varieties were bred by public institutions, tested through regulatory system, but all of a sudden, what happened? It was approved by Genetic Engineering Approval Committee, which is now appraisal committee. It was in 2009, BT eggplant is safe for environmental relief. It was noted, and then 7 nationwide consultations, because there was hue and cry on the streets by those who are not aware of the scientific basis and information, just because they don't want it. There are people who want now organic farming. But will organic farming feed our country? It will feed the rich people, affluent people. It is okay if you can afford more price, then organic farming will help those farmers. But if you need to reduce cost on input, increase productivity, the size of holding is less, then I see that perhaps we are going to make a big mistake. So a moratorium was put on, and then what happened? Matter went to court, and now Supreme Court has constituted technical expert committee. I happen to be a member of that, and I was in a dilemma not to agree to other members, so I had to give my own report. So there are 2 reports, and the Supreme Court has to consider both and decide. So the matter relating to regulatory system, the scientific system, has now landed to a kind of scenario where you do not know where to go, then why this much of investment? And why we try to take benefit of these technologies which are in our country's interest? Naturally, we will not do it if it is not, in case of also vegetables, people say it is not important food crop, why bother, doesn't matter, we can afford without it, it's alright. But again, 50% of pesticides in vegetables are used in brinjal alone, like in cotton. So it's an issue which has to be balanced and seen. But I am not also saying that blindly you accept anything. You accept it, if it is required. If it is not required, don't accept it. And what happened? Seeing this scenario of music here, agriculture minister from Bangladesh came during that time 2-3 times, interacted with some of us and went back and said, I will release it, doesn't matter any opposition of it, and it has been released there. We would require partnership among the public, and soybean today is number 1 oilseed crop. Soybean has also Roundup soybean, which is a GM product, and it will help in promoting it. If we have to go for replacement of rice wheat production system from North India, then I see soybean is one vote. And the second one is maize, and including the spring maize. We have to really think very seriously in terms of what we need and where should we go and what are the production constraints, and if that technology is the only one which helps us, why not we adopt it. Golden rice, a very unfortunate story. Again, through research system in the public institutions, which is now sitting for any policy decision for release, is still not available to the people. 200 million women and children suffer from vitamin A deficiency in the whole world. Moreover, agricultural biotechnology is not all GM technology. This has to be understood, and in that respect, we have to take full benefit of options like tuberlets of potato for seed production, sugarcane, tissue culture, banana. India is today number 1 banana producer, and even date palm. You can make our desert California if we go in for large scale plantation of date palm, but we are stuck up in terms of its multiplication. And you get the benefit. The farmer is now, whether in Gujarat or in Maharashtra, you go, you find that they are very happy. You have to also use other alternatives, as I said, not only GM, marker restrict selection. Darshan Barar has done a lot of work on it. These are, I think, slides from him, which I have included. And marker restricted selection can help you a great deal. And that is a technology which is readily available, for which you need training, capacity development, and concerted effort. And once the genes or the genome, whether rice or wheat, are all mapped, we would have great options in future to play with these genes and manipulate them according to our. We can tailor the genes in future. Submergence tolerance, already the materials have come out through marker state selection, and the efforts also at PAU, I find, is quite encouraging, relating to the Basmati 386, where you have now the marker assisted selection, improved Basmati. So you could use these, and therefore we have to move in that direction. Another point I would like to say about climate change, that when we say adaptation is the soft approach. We will have to also consider mitigation, but adaptation, when it is there, we have really done remarkably well. and we need not be afraid of, because we have the best tolerant genes, whether it is heat, salt, or whether it is relating to cold. In many crops, the best salt tolerant rice, we have the Pokali, best salt tolerant wheat, Kharchia, and you talk submergence, we have the best genes in rice in India, and you talk of animals, the best Rathi breed in 45 to 50 degree centigrade temperature, bunny, buffalo, with practically no, fodder available to them. Still, they have great potential to provide you good milk under those conditions, and we have best trees, best people who can tolerate the heat. It's not like France, where 4 degrees Celsius led to several deaths from, I think it was 28 to 34 degrees Celsius 3 years ago, and there were several deaths just because of that high temperature. Here I have been working in fields up to 50 degrees Celsius whole day. So we have the best tolerant material. Only thing is we have to document, we have to characterize it, and we have to use it rather than just saying that it is with us. What happened in case of adaptation? The chickpea was only the crop of the North India before, more than 150 to 180 days. The scientists made it shorter in duration. Today it is grown all over India up to Tamil Nadu. So this is the adaptation. Pigeon pea was never grown. It used to be called crop Jamnapar crop. Jamnapar. Now you grow it in Punjab, you grow in Rajasthan, you grow in Gujarat, and you have reduced its duration to 120. So there are options and possibilities, but we will have to work on them, and we will have to be ready relating to it. Maybe they may not be as high yielding as we want under the stress situation. And then another in NRM area, the approach of conservation agriculture is another innovation which we have not yet been able to capitalize. 100 million hectare elsewhere. India hardly has about so far 2 million hectares covered. And Indo-Gangetic plain for rice wheat system, you have potential of 8 million hectares. So you need to outscale this faster, and this will help in reducing the cost for the farmer and will enable him to have better risk. The mitigation part, maximum methane gas emission is from rice and rice cultivation. So you have to have there certain basic studies like this in case of Japan, where they have set up these experiments, and what they are doing, they are just looking at the continuous flooding, what is the methane emission level. They are going in for reducing the duration by having dry days for 7 days in between. The reduction is there. You go for 14 days, further reduction. You go for 21 days, hardly there is any methane emission. But then we have to see whether by doing this, could you also ensure that productivity is not compromised. And in that respect, there are again developments of the kind that you would like to go in for saving on water resources, saving on nutrients, and we have to improve nutrient efficiency to a greater extent. So you have to test and then provide fertilizers rather than giving en bloc package, which we used to follow 4:2:1 and so on. You have to manage manage like lot of area coming under dry seeded rice and basmati rice in particular. So you could think in the context of new options and new approaches, and that's the only way by which we will be able to go forward. In US, when I went, there is no farm where you use granulated or the powder fertilizer to be used in the fields. It's all liquid nitrogen, and we hardly have any research or effort relating to those innovations on which others are capitalizing. No doubt it would require investment, but then if you have to go for saving water, you have to go for micro irrigation. If you have to go for improving your nitrogen use efficiency, you will have to think of new alternative approaches. If it is in case of rice, you can improve your nitrogen use efficiency if you go for granulated urea application, but you don't have applicator by which you could do it. So you need now these challenges to be addressed and come out with solutions, and solutions would be possible. IPM, involving farmer to go for IPM technology, involving women from gene, not using pesticide at all for last 5 years. You can go in cotton and see. And they have come out with very scientific analysis that if you go in without any use of pesticide in cotton, then you are creating a balance between the what you call as harmful pesticide and the useful pesticide, pest, sorry. So you create a balance, and by creating balance, and they have done studies on also threshold, and they say there is never increase beyond threshold for any of these if you are using this approach. And they are training now many women around in the area. So you need these kinds of approaches. You have to bring in farmers with you. You have to go in for fertilizer, water use efficiency. I have talked. We can go for protected cultivation and then see that the farmer's income increases. If young people have to be attracted, they have to be attracted to the specialty agriculture. And from 1,000 meter covered protected or polyhouse, you can earn minimum of 4 to 5 lakhs rupees, and that's the only way by which we will be able to. But it would require technology, it would require again research. All varieties in protected cultivation of 4 vegetables which we are growing today are imported, and none is from India. Why can't we breed our own varieties? And why can't? And then when you look at China has 2 million hectare area covered under protected cultivation, and how much India has? We did again national debate on this, and a seminar was organized. Hardly 40,000 hectares. From 40,000, when will you be 1 million? It will take 20 years, or you have to do it in the next 5 years. And if you have to do it, then it has to be in a mission approach. And that's why there is urgency. This is what I want to bring before you. Fortunately, agriculture is drawing attention. This World Bank report did it. Agriculture investment is giving the best returns than any other sector, whether it is education, health, road, transport, etc. And these studies are not from one country: China, India, Thailand, Ghana, Uganda, Tanzania, Ethiopia. Investment will have to be increased. Many countries are not at all giving importance to agriculture. You will see Pakistan, the allocations are declining over last 20 years. You will see India, we have doubled, and we have again doubled recently. So 2008, but when you compare it with China, we are half of China. Our problem is not less than China in any case. We have more rainfed area, we have environment, tropical, subtropical and temperate. We have more pests and diseases, and we have more problems of salinity and alkalinity. So Malaysia, again world leader in date palm, oil palm. They have gone for specialty crops, coconut, and they have decided that we will like to be world leader, and today they are world leader in oil palm. So we need actually policy reorientation around farmer first, farmer professors, farmer leaders, outscaling of innovations for impact, investment, more investment, private sector involvement, because if you want the results of biotechnology to reach the end user, we also came out very clearly after discussion with biotechnologists and scientists that unless there is partnership with private sector, because this is entirely a new ball game, to have patenting, apply for it, then to have production of the end product and then to sell it and make sure that you can convince those who have to adopt this technology. We need major problem of coordination and convergence. We don't want to interact with even one department to another in many institutions and one institute to another. Therefore, CRP, the CGIAR research program, is forcing all CG centers, even they were not working together with each other, forcing them now through CRP to work with each other around the ecosystem and landscape and around not only food but towards nutrition and towards health. So we would need more of capital investment. Unfortunately, the investment has declined from government side. We built the highest dam, longest canal, best fertilizer factory in the cooperative sector, the best seed sector, but this has declined. From 14%, it has come down to 7%. And this is needed more in Eastern India, which is sleeping giant. If we have to have second revolution, it has to come through awakening of Eastern region. We have to have again better human resource development. So we don't want business as usual. We have to think out of box and we have to be aggressive in our advocacy for increased AR&D. If we don't cry, nobody is going to give us milk. This is what is clear. So scientists have to come forward and tell, if you want this much investment is required. And government must provide. We have been arguing. No doubt it has increased from 0.3 to now almost 0.6%, but it has to be 1%, which we want. Agriculture research for Asia Pacific needs nearly about 30 billion US dollar per year. And we also have to see that South Asia becomes again focus, because maximum poverty and hunger resides here. So in this respect, what actually then is required is, in conclusion, food and nutrition security and poverty are big challenges in Asia, also in India. Current and future challenges threaten our food security, but there exists ample opportunities, and I am optimistic that we will be able to solve our problem. We have best human resource, best institutions, best farmers. Only thing is that we are at this stage having policy paralysis, which has to be addressed. And we have to see that policy makers listen to us again, as they used to listen during Green Revolution time. If you want another second ever Green Revolution, again policy should be around science, not around those who are against science. Innovations in agriculture technology, policy institutions offer new opportunities to improve food, nutrition and environment security, and major focus should now be around outscaling of agricultural innovations for future sustainability. And only through this we then can have better future for our younger generation. We should not leave behind more depleted natural resources than what inherited. And in that respect, we need people like Dr. Gurdev Khush. We were happy to have him this award received through trust which I am currently chairing, which we instituted. He was second recipient of the prestigious Dr. M.S. Swaminathan Award, which he received from former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh ji in 2006. So Dr. Gurdev Khush, we would like to salute you, and I would like to thank the audience for listening.
So you heard the detailed analysis and considered view of Honorable Dr. Paroda on Indian agriculture. You must be having clarifications or queries, but since time is very limited, so we are going to take only maybe 2 or 3 queries or questions. So Dr. Paroda, would you like to take one by one, or first we take the queries and then you give your considered?
Let all three, 4.
Okay. So I invite queries or questions, but be specific, be precise, no commentary, no tabsra, no backdrop, please. So anyone?
Now you have spoken about challenges for Indian agriculture. I think one biggest challenge, and you may kindly agree, that is a quality human resource development, which did not used to be, but now it has emerged. Now look, every day we are hearing there are some agriculture courses being offered, some private university, some private colleges. Even in Punjab there are 22 places from where this BSc agriculture has started. Now when this is seen, we are writing to state governments, okay, it is education a state subject. ICAR is an advisory body, it's not a regulatory body. So with this scenario, what are your comments or expert advice on this issue?
And what about the golden eyes? You talk about golden eyes twice.
And anyone else? Please.
It usually happens after such a illustrious talk that discussion is always shortlisted. We hardly have time. The question is, when such a movement happens, there are many questions that I need to ask. Why? Because, as you rightly said, and Dr. Gurdev also mentioned, we have to take history into perspective. I am a connecting generation. My teacher, Professor P.N. Mehra, I am the 75th student of his. I come from basic sciences, and being in applied sciences, I have so many questions to ask. First is, despite all the galaxy of scientists, what is it that we need to tell our policymakers to change this trend? That's number one. Second is, if we are not able to do that, what is the next alternative? There are so many things that I wanted to ask because...
Sir, you can discuss during, I think.
You told that we need not just the food, but the healthy food. So, without a detailed study and research about the impact of GM foods, how we can say that we should introduce GM brinjal to India? Means I am from Kerala, and in Kerala, Ayurveda is well flourished, and brinjal is a major crop from which Ayurvedic products are made. And there was a report that without detailed study of how that BT brinjal will affect the Ayurvedic products, can we allow BT food crops means grown in India?
I think first of all I would say that we definitely need at the current juncture emphasis on human resource development, and also reorient our education agenda. We have to revisit the land grant system, which is almost 50 years old, 60 years now I must say. First university in Pantnagar, 1960, 61. And see that whether we are also changing as the world is changing, and looking at the scenario and all these challenges, etc. In the process, we should also take advantage of the recommendations which came out from the last Agriculture Science Congress on Bhubaneswar. I hope some of you might have participated, which was exclusively devoted to agricultural education. And ICAR is now developing the next phase of national technology project, which we had NATP, then it became NAIP, and now NAEP, sorry, and now it is, NAIP, and now it is NAEP, means National Agriculture Education Project. The major emphasis would be in terms of ensuring that firstly our education system makes our products more confident to face the realities. And realities in the context of not only looking for white collar job, but also creating job for others. And there is great option for it through vocational programs. So it is not the structured only the degrees, and but maybe we have to think in the context of training the young people to provide the services to the farmers and becoming entrepreneurs in many ways, which is possible. And in that respect, when we look at the new challenges, whether you talk of genetic engineering, whether you talk of nanotechnology, whether you think in the context of information technology for linking farmers to market, you will require a different set of programs and training. Even managements are now, schools of agri-business management are being created. So and then post-harvest management. So these are various areas which would require trained people. And if we don't have trained people, we will not be able to do much. This we recognize under NATP very clearly, and had put in at that time 10% of allocations for human resource development. Every university institution must minimum have a human resource development program, and I would like to thank Dr. Gurdev Khush that it is through such efforts that people have opportunities to participate in conferences and get fellowship and also be worldly wise in various areas and build their capacity. So these efforts are required. And lastly in this, when you compare with China, China is today spending 25% on human resource development. And India, ICAR, 5%. Not even 5%, I can tell you. If you look at the overall allocations and utilization. Because bureaucracy is coming in way and not allowing people to go abroad. They think it is for pleasure trip. Yeah, unless you spend on human resource for future, these buildings would not be known by the bricks and mortars. It will be known by people who are sitting here on the dais. So you would need these kinds of next generation, and that has to come. At that time, if most of us from here were not trained in Ohio, possibly we would have been confined to our own scenarios. So this is important, this has to be addressed, and it is a serious issue, and many times I feel our education system has outlived its utility. It requires a brainstorming, rethinking, out of box scenario and see how others are doing, and it requires a foresight initiative at the institute level. There should be a group, foresight group for future educational system at the university. C4, golden rice, I think C4, they have picked it up because it's attractive, it draws funds. Sometimes you have to initiate something new, thinking that why not, when anything is possible, why not make the C3 into C4. But I personally have my own, reservation. We'll have to wait and watch what comes out of it. Like we did so much of investment on nitrogen lift gene, but not much came out. But it was very important, it was needed, and it doesn't, nobody would still say that you shouldn't invest on it. So, only thing is that, like if you want to biofuel in agriculture in India, the biofuel, you can't divert the food crops, whether it is maize or whether it is rice or wheat or any other, or soya bean. But you can definitely go for second generation technology by degrading the biomass and then generating biofuel. But where is the research? There are countries who have come forward with the technology now using the biomass, the rice straw, we are burning it. We could use it for biofuel and farmer could gain income. So you would require these approaches, but it's good some initiatives have taken. Golden rice is there, again it is policy issue. And hope sometimes there will be appreciation of it. Policy advocacy is very critical, and policy advocacy would come when scientists are of one voice. It is unfortunate that often we find when you talk to any leader, he says, oh, he was saying against it, you are saying in favor of it, and it makes our case very bad. So unless we are clear, like a young lady from Kerala was saying that it has come from my region and it has Ayurvedic value. Therefore, now madam, when we introduce dwarf wheats and rices, same argument was there, that it will remove all our land races. What for? You have, even in nature, the crossing takes place. There are, so maybe I can discuss with you later personally, but the question is that you have the gene bank, you keep in the gene bank whatever you have. But we had dwarf wheat, dwarf rices, our genetic erosion didn't take place in wheat and rice. So why you are worried? Now, with regard to using it as food, well, the test of pudding lies in eating, right? If there is any complaint so far on which any regulatory system in the whole world has said that yes, it is not good, then we should. You are using pesticides. How much pesticide goes in your body? Are you worried about it? But somebody says that this technology is not good, so I would also go by that saying. So have the proper informed knowledge and try to have public advocacy, and scientists have not done it again, unfortunately. Scientists are at receiving end because often somebody says, oh well, this technology is from the multinationals. Why our public system should not deliver? We have invested so much. Why can't we have, like in Pakistan, they have now BT cotton in the varietal background because the gene Monsanto Tri1A is out of patent period, and they have transferred it to their varietal background. In Pakistan there is no hybrid, and we have not yet a varietal background cotton material. Why? Sometimes we have to really be more clear in these areas, and scientists certainly should not go by what people talk on the street. At least you should have full knowledge, understand it, and luckily I happened to work for 6 months, hard work to analyze all this information. And if you want, you can read my report and you would have better insight into it. And I think I have covered most of the questions.